Closing arguments are set to begin in the motion to disqualify Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis and her special prosecutor Nathan Wade from former President Trump's 2020 election subversion case in Georgia. Willis and Wade have both admitted to having a relationship while working on the case. The two have been accused of financially benefiting from the relationship. Both sides have vehemently denied the allegations. CBS News legal analyst Rikki Klieman is following the case. Rikki, good to see you. So we understand this is the summation of all of this, but some new evidence might be put into play, perhaps. What more can you tell us about that?
Well, we have new evidence coming from both sides, and the question is, what is the judge going to do about that? The prosecution wants to introduce evidence having to do with a trip that Fani Willis and Nathan Wade took to the Napa Valley, where Fani Willis says that she paid for her part of this trip in cash, and that the person at the winery will say that he remembers this couple and that he did not know who they were at the time, but that now he certainly knows. And in fact, Fani Willis had cash, and that is very rare when it comes to going to a winery of this caliber. So that's on the prosecution side. On the defense side, the defense has presented information that the judge is going to allow the defense to offer in what we call a proffer of how this evidence would be used. And what it is an analysis of cell phone pings that allegedly would show that Nathan Wade was in the vicinity of Fani Willis's condo on more than 10 occasions, more than a dozen or 24 occasions, at a time when he and she say they were not in a romantic relationship. In addition, there is allegedly evidence that the defense will proffer that they are going to show from these cell phone pings that there were hours in the middle of the night where Nathan Wade was at the condo of Fani Willis. Why is this significant? Well, both Fani Willis and Nathan Wade have testified under oath that their relationship did not begin until after Nathan Wade started to work on this case. And ultimately, of course, they both say there's no conflict of interest because there was not a situation involving her benefiting from his money because she always used cash.
I see.
So that's all before any closing argument.
Right. And so that speaks to the sort of timing of the relationship. But I wonder, taking a step back, Rikki, as someone who has followed this case, in your view, who has laid out a stronger case so far?
Well, what you have for the defense is the problem of trying to show where the conflict is. And when we're talking about a conflict of interest in this kind of case, we're talking about money. The fact that they have a relationship, although one could certainly say it was stunningly reckless, absolutely reckless, even if it happened after Nathan Wade was working for Fani Willis. But if it happened before, it's even worse. But is that alone enough to be able to dismiss the case? I can say without hesitation, this case is not going to be dismissed. But is it enough to disqualify Fani Willis and or Nathan Wade from prosecuting the case? Well, the question then becomes, Elaine, credibility. You had Nathan Wade testify, you had Fani Willis testify, and ultimately you had Nathan Wade's law partner and divorce lawyer, Terrence Bradley, testify. Now, one of the problems is, are they telling the truth? Are they telling part of the truth? Are they not telling the truth at all? There's a legal doctrine that is called falsus in uno, falsus in omnibus. And that is fancy Latin for saying if someone is false in one statement, you can then decide as a trier of fact that they are false in all. So the judge may decide that there ultimately is not a conflict of interest, but the appearance of impropriety of this relationship may be enough with the idea that they may not have told the truth on the witness stand, any or all of those three witnesses, that he might decide to disqualify Nathan Wade or Fani Willis or both. Or he may decide this is much ado about nothing in terms of the case, and perhaps these are issues that ought to be taken up by the Bar Association.
A lot of attention will be paid to that Georgia courtroom. Rikki Klieman, so good to have your analysis. Thank you so much, Rikki.
Thank you, Elaine.